Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel Science Math Tech. And today we'll be discussing about another app which I made, which also uses Python. And this time it is comprised of SQLite and Tkinter. In the last video, we discussed about a similar app, but that was based on Python, which was connected to Oracle's database. So one more thing I would like to share at the start of the video, since it's Diwali season going right now. So maybe there are chances that yeah, as you can listen from the background, there may be some noises from the firecrackers bursting outside. So if there is a lot of noise, I'll just take a pause in between and then I'll continue. Okay, and I apologize for the same at the start. So with that said, let's start today's video. So in today's video, I will be explaining you the project which I made. So in this video, I used SQLite and Tkinter, which I told you at the start. I'll first show you how the output would look like, and then we'll move on to the actual code explaining how the output arrived from it. Okay, so I'll just share the output screen. So yeah, this is the output window which appears. Since I'm using Tkinter, it helps us to give a good GUI. I won't say good, but it helps you show a window, a GUI based model for the app which I made. So now see, from here we can select the tables from which we have to either pick the data, we have to insert the data, or we have to run queries. Running the queries in different part. We can add the records for the table which we have selected from the list. We can list the records for the selected table, as well as we can delete entire records for the table which we have selected. Uh, so now I'll do one thing. First, we'll list the records which are there in the department. There are no records. Shocking. I thought there were some. So let's do one thing. We'll add some records. So I have also given an option for executing some custom SQL queries. So let's write a query, or better, we can add the records in department. So this is how the expanded video, expanded window will look like. So this is for the department one. Department ID, let's give a random number 1001. Department name, let it be operations. Location be Mumbai. And once we click on add record, the record will be added. And yeah, the window will again shift to how it was looking originally. Okay, the expanded version will shrink now. So that is one of the functionality which I'll explain in the process of the video. Now we can list the records. See, one more functionality which I added was once I add a new record, all the records would be listed again so that we can check there itself whether the record was added successfully or not. Even though the window appears, but this is a necessary thing which I felt. Now, yeah, okay. Once we click the list records, the same thing will appear. We can demonstrate it like this. No records. Now we'll again move to department and see. We get the record which we inserted. Now, if we click the delete record, the record will be removed. Please don't think that here it is still showing the record. It's from the previous query which we run for the list records one. Now we'll again list the records. No records. Okay, so this is the window. Now we'll move on to the code and I'll explain you how it was actually working. Yes. So now moving to the code. Uh, Initially we connected to the database. Now I'll tell you, while connecting using SQLite, if we write only my database, my underscore database.db, it actually refers to creating a folder or a file in the current working directory where you are running this project. So there itself, the database files will be stored and can be retrieved. Okay. We can also add an additional path here. If we need to specify a particular location where we have to store it. Now, using the execute command, we can insert or write any SQL queries in between, and that would be executed. So for this SQLite, first using the execute function, I have added all the tables. I have created them. See, and the syntax starts with create table if not exist. If not exist, so that there are no duplications. Okay, with the same table. One more thing to notice is that in SQLite, there is nothing such as a number. Okay, basically in MySQL or Oracle, if we go, the data type suggests as number, but here it is integer. Okay, note it. Second, there is no varchar or varchar2. Instead, it is text. Okay, another thing to note. Mostly all other things are the same, like the date one or the foreign key, the primary key, the constraints, those are the same. So I added it for all the tables. Currently, I used 6 tables, same as the last video, which is the department, doctor, patient, appointment, treatment, and prescription. 6 tables. Okay. Also, I added few tables to connect those tables so that I can easily write, the join queries or the tables which can have additional data, like issued by, receives. Like these tables connect, like see, receives is connecting patient and treatment table. Issued is connecting prescription and treatment table. Like that, I have made 3 to 4 tables which help in connecting them. Now, after those execute commands, it's necessary to write commit so that the changes are committed finally. Okay, so that next time if we run the query, it won't be the case like when we list the records, it again shows no records since we haven't committed the changes. So this is a necessary thing to do. Now, the function show add window, the output which we saw in that thing, the window thing, what we have to show in the initial part. This is what this code is doing. I'm sorry for the crackers. Yes. So the this thing table is a variable and table underscore selection dot get. Now what we are doing is the thing where we saw that we can select a table out of the 6. That is the selection thing. Out of that we are getting which table is selected and storing that in this table variable. Then this is a necessary thing so that every time when we run this command, the previous things are deleted or removed and we get our original window back. So we use these functions. I'll explain these later. These are I have written ahead. Okay. So clear the entries, resetting to the initial state, enable fields. Now, according to the table value, the table name which we'll get, these functions will be executed, which is showing their respective entries. Like for department, it's department entry, doctor, it's doctor entry, and so on. Now, this is a common code. This one is a common code, is for all of them. Just few details are changed. Like if it's a doctor, it's add doctor. If it's department, it's add department, and so on. Now, the fields which I have used here. Fields is a dictionary which I have used. I'll show you. It's below here. See, this is the dictionary named fields I've used. In that, I've created these keys, departments, doctor, patient, the keys with the table names itself. And then for them, I've used labels, entries, and all these things like labels and entries as the values of them, the arrays I've created. Because see, every table has multiple attributes. So to store them, it was better to keep it in an array. Okay, so for the values part, I've kept these as an array. Okay, now I'll tell you how I called them. Yes, so here we were. Yeah, so here we called the fields, department, the key value, and second internal key, which was labels. Okay, now inside that, one more thing, the grid part. Now, few functions which I have used are for the SQLite, like the one which we saw above was execute. Execute was for the SQLite thing to execute the queries, right? But this grid or this config, these functions are for Tkinter because Tkinter helps us in the GUI part, right? So consider it as a grid which consists of columns and rows. So in this way, we define at which row or which column the output should be presented. Okay. So in grid, we show where it should go and then which fields to be selected and at what place they should go. Another thing, we can use the padding as well. So padding on the x-axis, on the y-axis, so it looks a better, in a better presentable way. Then the add button. I'll again show you the window, the output window. So it's better to explain. So see in this output window, this add record button. You can see this add record button. Now, if you go for department, we click on add record. These fields appear. Okay. Initially, if you see, there was nothing. Okay, on the left side. When you click on add record, it saw that we are suggesting to add for department. Then it opened or expanded this window for the department. Okay. Now, once we write the records here and click on add record, the functionality of that button has changed. Now it will not expand the window. Now it will take those records and add in the department table. Okay, so that's what it is. And after that, we again have to reset the add records function to the original value, like how the table was supposed to be at the original place, and again it need to be expanded. So again, we'll add some dummy data. Let's add the same data as we did at the start, and location B. Mobile. Now this add records adds the record to the department table. It again got reset. Now when we again change the table, this add record will now expand the window, as I said, for the selected table. This is a different functionality. Now when I enter the data, add record function works differently. It adds records to the selected table. Again, the window collapses. Again, the functionality changes. Okay. Now I'll go back to the code. Okay, so now after showcasing those things, we are changing the button's configuration, button underscore add dot config, and giving it the command to run this function, add department. So now I'll show you these functions I made, like see add department. I have similarly made 5 other functions for the remaining 5 tables. So here, what we are doing is, was one of the entries in those, dictionary which I made, the fields one. Okay, what we are doing is using the get function, we are getting the values from those text area, okay, which appears there. When we click on the add record, we can see labels on the left side for the respective text areas. Now this is getting the values from those text areas, the get function, okay, and storing in these variables. Now we should write a try catch block, or here we can say try except block, because see, sometimes there happens that our query is not executed successfully, or there is some area error, like primary key constraints are there or some foreign key constraints are there. At that point, the exception should be run. Okay, that's why writing try and except is very necessary. Now continuing ahead, now we'll again write the execute function. This is for add thing, that is insertion in the table. Okay, so we'll insert the records respectively. Here this is another syntax to write. Here we mention the question mark, and after this we write what values need to be inserted in the place of those question marks. Okay, this query is successfully committed. As I said, con.commit is very necessary, or the changes won't be reflected in your table. Okay, then just a message, you remember there appears another window saying that the records were added successfully. So that window message using the message box, this is one of the functionalities of Tkinter. Okay, again we change the configuration of the add record button to the initial function which I said, show add window, which gives you the names of the table, and it helps it to go in a collapsing form. Okay, that one. Again, yes, then we again use the reset to initial state function. I'll tell you what that function do. Then listing the records. As I said, that after adding each record, it automatically lists all the records so that we can confirm whether the record is added successfully or not. Even though the window appears in front of us, the success window, still. Okay. Then, yeah, these are the similar things I've done for all the 6 tables. So I'll scroll down. And yeah, this is the list records. Okay, so what it does is the text area, the text box which was added, right? So first it clears all the entries in that, starting from one, that is the first one, first, like first column, first row, like that corner, till the end part. All entries are deleted. Then the execute function, which is selecting all from the table. Okay, since we need to list all the records, right? Then using the fetch all function, we'll fetch all those selected rows, keep it in records. We'll also check if there is something in the table, because there are chances that the table is empty. Like initially, when we run the query, the department table was empty, right? So here, if the records are empty, that is, if there are no records, if null, this if won't be executed, else would be executed, and no records, that would be shown. But if there are records, then we'll use a for loop to run through each of the row and show it on a separate line respectively. Okay, the string format it will be shown, right? Now the clear entries one. In the clear entries, we'll again get the table name and using the fields thing, the dictionary which we used, we'll delete all the text area, the text boxes which will showing there for taking the input. We'll delete them. This is the enable fields function. Now this is important, reset to initial state, because we need to collapse the table after adding the records, right? So for that, what we are doing is we'll again get the table name, the most important part, because with that name only we can help take the values or address the values from this fields dictionary. So getting the table name is utmost important. Then we'll again clear the entries. Now we'll remove that grid completely. Okay. See, there were two things, right? The label part, okay, and the text area. We need to remove those labels as well as the text area. So we are removing them from the grid itself. As I told, the GUI which was shown is like a grid consisting of rows and columns. So we completely remove that grid, okay, for the labels and for the entries. And then entry label.config text as a blank text. So like there is nothing there. That's why the window collapses. Okay. Now the execute query. We are able to write custom SQL queries also, right? So with this, what it does is it again gets the query, okay, from the start of that text box to the end. Okay, it strips some extra spaces from between, keeps it in the query variable. Again, a try except block. Okay, it will execute this query, which you have stored in this query variable. Also, now it will fetch the records, because queries are also two types, right? One of the queries can get you some records like the select queries, okay, and other queries which does the operations like insertion, updation, or deletion. Those won't have any output, right? So we'll store that thing here, whether there is an output or not. Okay, then we check like same as the list thing, whether the records are having something or not. Okay, if there is nothing in the records, it either means that no records are found, that is if you have written a select query and no records are found, or there are chances that there is no output from the query. Okay, like the insertion, updation, or deletion queries, those won't have any output. Okay, so either of this will be the case. But if there are records, then we'll showcase them in the area where the queries, the output for the queries need to be executed. Okay. Then the delete record, the delete button which was there on the window, this will help to delete all the entries from the table. So what I actually did was, instead of writing these small queries, if we wish to, I gave buttons for them. Okay, right? Like listing the records, like easiest query, select star from table, or deleting the records, delete from table. Instead of writing those queries again and again, I just made them to work as a button, so that we just need to select the table, click on them, our query will be executed. Less efforts for typing. So now again, we'll get the table name. We'll store the query in this variable, delete from the table name which we got, execute the query, we'll commit it, and then we'll show it in the text area. Okay. Now here, the title of the window which was there. Okay, we can keep it using title. This is important. At the start, I have stored it as TK, right? Import Tkinter as TK. So yeah, I'm using TK here. Then the delete button underscore delete, TK dot button, delete record. That should be the text present at the button. You know how the button should be spelled, like that. Okay. What shall be the command? The delete record function, which I showed you just now. Okay. And at the grid, what location it should be present along with the padding. Okay, that is given. Now the table selection. Now this thing, string var values department. Now this is the value which should be there at initial level. When the query is executed, there are 6 tables, right? So out of 6, what should be the default table name selected? That is given here. Okay. Then after that, we'll be using the tk.label as select table. Like similarly, we had labels for the entries, the text areas which appeared. okay, for adding the records in the table. Similarly, for the selection box also, we'll be having a label, okay, the select table. Okay, after explaining this, I'll again show you the output window, so it will be more clear. Then again, at the grid where it should be placed, then the option menu, which should contain these specific values, these values, okay, the names of the table, where it should be placed, and the padding respectively. Then now I have specified that for each these labels, what should be the text that should appear on the left for adding the records, and respectively where those entries should go. Okay, using tk.entry. This is the inbuilt functions we have to use. Okay, like labels and the entries. Okay, I have done it for all the tables: the patient, appointment, treatment, and prescription. Then this is the dictionary which I showed you, which I have used. Then now this is same as those above buttons, the delete button or the options menu which I shown. This is for the add records button. Okay, what command it should follow and where it should be placed in the grid. So the grid function used. Then yeah, now for the text box where the output was supposed to be shown for the list records or for the query execution thing. Now that is the scrolled text thing, because initially at a local level, there only will be a very small amount of queries, right? But if we go on for higher level thing, then the queries can expand a lot. Okay, so like that. Yeah, just give me a moment. Yeah, thanks. I'm sorry, I just received a call. That's why I paused a bit. So yeah, now yes, so we were at the add record button, the command thing, the grid function, in which will specify at what place in the grid it should appear using the column space and all. Okay, and yeah, we're at the scrolled text thing. So at higher level, there are chances that there are a lot of records and we need to scroll it a bit, because in a smaller window, all those records won't fit, right? So we'll use the scroll text thing, right? Then again, the buttons for the list record thing, then all these things for the query execution. After that, we'll end the main loop and we'll close the connection. Okay, I'll again show you the output window. We last stopped at inserting record for doctor, right? So now let's add some dummy records. Again, 1001. Let doctor name be anything. Let's add Arnav, for example. Specialization be surgery. Joining date. Let's add a random date. So 0615 maybe. Yeah, month and year. So department ID. 1001. There was a department ID with that name, right? Now the foreign key constraints won't be violated. Record added successfully. Window collapsed again. Okay. And the record was automatically shown once we clicked on the add record. So once the record is added, the records will be listed. This functionality is also working. Now we'll select again department. We'll my bad. We can list the records. Okay, let's add another record since we clicked on it. Department name, let's give it surgery, location Chennai. Add the record. Yeah. Now let's do one thing. Let's delete the records from the doctor table. First we'll list it. This was a single record which you added right now. We'll delete the record. We'll again list. No records found. Also, we can run some custom SQL queries. Like at the start, what I did was, since there were no queries, or wait, let's write some custom SQL queries. There are records in the department table, right? Let's try calling them. So select, um, let's select everything from the department where the department ID. I'm not sure whether it was a department underscore ID or department ID. Let's check. If an error arrives, we'll change the name. Department ID is equal to 1001. Okay, so yeah, that column wasn't existing. So maybe it's a department underscore ID. Yes, it was department underscore ID. So see, we got output for the custom SQL query which we tried. So yeah, in short, this was the recent project which I did. Although this is not a very large scale project, this was like bit of a practice like for connecting the Python and the SQL thing, because now in my current semester I was learning the Oracle SQL. That's why I made the last video, and this one was another try for integrating the Tkinter along with it. And I thought SQLite would be a better idea compared to Oracle thing, because that needs connection, your username, password, host, service name. Instead, this was a better option, SQLite. And if some of you may have thinking like why I didn't use Tkinter or this GUI thing for that Oracle project, because I searched somewhere and it told me that Oracle doesn't support the Tkinter thing when we integrate it with Python. That's why I made it a simple console-based project. And this one with SQLite, I kept it for the GUI part. And yeah, this was it in short. So thank you guys for visiting the channel, and please do like the video, subscribe my channel, and please share the video. And thank you all.